Today on Alex Autos, we're out here taking a look at the all-new third-generation Kia Sedona. This is easily the most exciting thing to happen to the minivan segment in a very, very long time. In fact, the minivan segment has actually been shrinking in America, and Kia thinks that that is exactly the right time to get into the market because we're losing a number of competitors in the coming year or so. Because this is very different than the other minivan entries in this segment. It's an awful lot more aggressive and it's an awful lot more crossover looking. We also have this very modern front end that's very vertical. You'll notice that we don't have a bumper that sticks out very much from the front. Our model has well-integrated parking sensors. Because we're in the top line trim, we also get this black trim right across the bottom. Optional fog lights. You can also get optional xenon headlamps. That's just the low beams in this particular vehicle. Now, most of the minivans out there look a little boring, and that's definitely not going on in this Kia. We actually have the Kia Tiger Nose grille in an extremely large format here. You can see this very small dip in and dip out. That's what gives it the Tiger Nose look. We also have an all-around view camera positioned right there in the center. This is very reminiscent of the Kia K900. That video was out last week, so you can also check that out on my channel. And the overall look is very similar to that K900, which I think is a very good thing. From the side profile, you can really see how vertical this front end is. It's an awful lot more expressive than any of the other minivans currently available in the segment, although I do see just a little bit of Honda Odyssey in the side profile. The other thing you'll notice is that the roofline does actually drop towards the rear. It's a little bit unusual for a minivan because they generally prioritize cargo space over looks. But that's not going on here. Kia has actually decided to prioritize looks in certain respects to cargo practicality or passenger practicality, most notably this rear window right here, which is an awful lot smaller than you'll find in most minivans. The glass normally goes down a little bit lower, giving those third row passengers a little bit better view. Now, even though it isn't quite as practical, it definitely looks better than some of those other minivans out there. The rear hatch glass is a little bit more sloped than you'll find in some of the minivans, and of course we do have a power tailgate hatch in our particular model. There's not a whole lot to say about the back end of the Sedona other than it's a tailgate back here, and it's very similar to your average three-row crossover or every other minivan out there. Parking sensors integrated very nicely right over here. We have some reflectors right there, and then nice tail lamp modules integrated well into the tailgate that wrap around right here into the back. Under the hood, we have only one engine option. It is this 3.3-liter direct injection V6 engine. I'll take off this engine cover so you can see it a little bit more closely. This engine again features direct injection and variable valve timing to produce 276 horsepower and 248 pound-feet of torque. It is mated only to a 6-speed automatic transmission, sending power right here to the front wheels. This is a little bit less horsepower than you'll find in the Dodge or the Chrysler minivans, but it's just about the same that you'll find in the Toyota. Front seat comfort is very good, and like many vehicles, it varies depending on the options that you get. It comes in between 8 and 9 out of 10 points. Minivans are typically very comfortable because we have a much more upright seating position than you'll find in your average crossover or even your average sedan. Our particular model has this multi-way adjustable driver's seat. We also have a 4-way adjustable driver's lumbar support, which is a nice touch. And we have a tilt telescopic steering column with a wider range of motion than you'll find in most of the minivans out there. Now let's talk about the rear seats. We'll start here in the second row. Keep in mind that we are in the top end trim, which means we get the most comfortable minivan seats available by Kia. We actually get the most comfortable seats available in any minivan, really. And these also move in 8 different directions, which is pretty unique. Let's go over that. So right here we have this first lever that moves the seat forwards and backwards. We then get a lever that raises and lowers the ottoman. And in order to use that ottoman, we actually have to move the seat inward. And that is kind of a unique feature about this minivan versus something like a Toyota Sienna. Because the Sienna, you can't really use the ottomans if you're too far forward. You need really short legs, or somehow you need to magically move the seat further rearward. Kia does that by moving the seat inboard. And then, once the seat is inboard, you can then move it further to the rear. As you can see right there, that allows me to raise this ottoman, which also extends out from the seat like that. Now with the seat in this position, I can actually stretch out behind myself. So I'm 6 feet tall, I have the driver's seat adjusted for me, and I have this rear seat adjusted for me, and I can recline into an incredibly comfortable seating position. This vehicle easily gets 10 out of 10 in terms of second row comfort. Now because we're in the top level trim, I also get a sunroof right back here that is positioned for this second row seat, very obviously, because it is right over where you'd be if you were in the second row in this furthest rearward position. Now of course, if you do want to give those people in the back a little bit more leg room so that seat's usable, you are going to have to slide this seat forward to a pretty standard minivan position. Getting in the back seats is actually pretty easy. All we have to do is lift that lever, and then we can slide this front seat all the way forward, and it allows us very easy access to the third row. Overall, I'll give this 8 out of 10 points when it comes to third row comfort. This is definitely more comfortable than you'll find in your average three-row crossover, but it is a little bit more crowded than something like a Dodge Caravan, which does have a little bit larger back seats. One thing to keep in mind if you do plan on using these third row seats frequently is that our model has the optional sunroof. And if you do get that sunroof, it does reduce rear headroom, and my head is touching the ceiling right there, as you can see. If I scoot on over to this middle seat in the third row position, it's a little bit more pronounced because even this third row has a slight bucket shape to the outboard seats. Let's take a quick look at the interior, starting with the third row. We do get these adjustable headrests in the back. We also get cup holders that are integrated right there into the side. Now the third row also reclines. We just pull on this little tab right here and you can recline the third row or fold it completely flat like that. The center seat belt for the third row does come down from the ceiling, which I find a little bit less convenient because it is left to dangle. And then you can lift this lever and then stow this seat right there into the trunk. It will fold completely flat with the cargo area. Some nice touches behind the third row seats are a 110 volt power outlet in our model, a 12 volt power outlet, and a removable flashlight right there in the back. Just press that button and the flashlight lights up. Moving up to the second row, we have height adjustable seat belts over here. We also have butterfly headrests and adjustable side armrests. Because our model is the top end trim, we have contrasting Napa leather upholstery with a little piping strip right there between the two different colors. Our vehicle has the 3-zone climate control with the ceiling vents. These are the controls for the rear zone climate control. We also have these integrated sunshades integrated right into the doors. Now you will find more soft touch plastics inside the Sedona, especially in the rear cabin, than you'll find in the Toyota. We actually have a soft touch strip right up here on the door, hard plastics below that, and a fake wood trim strip right down there. In the center console, we have 2 cup holders for the second row passengers. We also have a little storage cubby right there, 110 volt power outlet, USB charging outlet, and then a storage bin that pulls completely out if you want it to. Moving up to the front seats, we again have height adjustable seat belts, but we don't have the butterfly headrests. These are just standard 2-way adjustable headrests. If we look up towards the ceiling here, you can see that we have 2 different sunroofs in the upper level trim. So we have one right up there, and then we have that one right back there. Again, that one is positioned for that second row luxury seating package, as you can see, which does go quite far back in the vehicle. It's right above that second row's head right over there. And then we have this second sunroof right up here for the driver and the front passenger. The front doors are made of a combination of hard and soft touch plastics. We have soft touch plastics in the upper and this middle section right here, soft touch armrest, and then hard touch plastics lower down the door. It is a little bit difficult to tell in the video, but ours is a 2-tone brown interior that we're taking a look at right here. We have this dark chestnut brown lower right here, and this is more of a tan upper right here. We have 2 glove boxes. This is a relatively small one. It's about the same size as an iPhone. You can see you can drop it right in there. You can't really fit it that way. The lid won't close. Below that, we have a large secondary glove box. I was able to fit an iPad in this particular glove box, and we have an air conditioning vent right back there to help keep your goodies cool. The dashboard design in the Sedona is very reminiscent of the Kia K900, which I think is an attractive thing to be reminded of. We have our start-stop button right over here, air vents, we have our UVO infotainment system. Below that, we have our climate controls for our 3-zone climate control equipped vehicle. Driver over here, passenger over there, rear down here, and then the various buttons right over there. If we hit the climate button right here, it will give you a climate status right here on this 8-inch touchscreen. Now you may notice that something is missing from the Sedona's dashboard. We don't have a column shifter over here, and then we don't have some sort of funky gear shifter nestled or integrated right here into the dashboard. That's because we have a very traditional console shifter. By giving the Sedona a traditional shifter right here in the center console, it gives it a more sedan-like or more crossover-like feel. Right over here we have 2 large cup holders hidden behind this roller top. We have heated and cooled seat controls right over here. This is our all-around camera button. This is a very nice option available in the Sedona. Parking sensors, drive mode select, heated steering wheel button, and cooled seats and heated seats for the driver. Right up here we have the USB input and the auxiliary port for the UVO infotainment system. The Sedona is the second model in the Kia lineup to get their all-around camera system that was launched in the Kia K900. You can see right here we have what looks like a bird's eye view of the vehicle. That's done by putting 4 cameras all around the vehicle. There's one in the back, one in the front, and one under each of the side view mirrors. Then the vehicle then digitally stitches that image together to make it look like a bird's eye view. Right now we're taking a look at the all-around view, which is seen by that little icon right there. We can just look at the front camera, since we're in drive, the front and the left camera, or the front and the right camera to help you in parking maneuvers. I like the all-around view myself. Now if I put it in reverse, we get basically the same thing, only in reverse. We get the all-around camera right over there. And then right over here on this side, we can choose between the rear view only, rear in the side, rear in the other side. Or we can always go back to that all-around camera view. Like many vehicles out there, the turning lines do turn as you rotate the steering wheel to help tell you where the vehicle would go if you were in reverse. Moving on over to the driver's side, we have this very traditional 2-dial instrument cluster with additional digital readouts for fuel on this side and engine temperature on that side. We have a multi-mode information cluster right there in between the speedometer and the tachometer, and we can cycle between our range, navigation directions and instructions, safety systems, audio, vehicle service intervals, as well as vehicle settings. Moving on out to the steering wheel, we have a 3-spoke design right here with fake wood trim right across the top. On this side of the steering wheel, we have our cruise control buttons. Our vehicle is equipped with the optional radar cruise control system. This is a full speed range system, so it will take you to a complete stop and hold you there in stop and go traffic. On this side, we have our dedicated phone hang up and pickup buttons, volume knob that rotates right there, track up, down, mode button, and voice command button. Moving on over to the ceiling, we have an enable disable button for the power doors. We have power door buttons for the left and right power doors and the rear tailgate hatch. We also have separate buttons for the front and the rear sunroofs. This is a map light button. You can also turn them on individually by pressing on the map light right there. And right here we have a little rear view monitor so that way you can see the kids in the back seat. Let's take a closer look at the Sedona's cargo area. As you can see, I have this 24-inch roller bag in here, and it fits deep inside this well. This is sort of the latest trend in minivans, is having these rear seats that fold into this large storage well right down there. I'm going to drop that headrest, pull that cord, that seats that front section, then I can pull this third row right back here and push it into place right there in the floor. Now with the third row stowed into place, I do have more room back here behind the second row seats than you'll find in your average 3-row crossover. Keep in mind that the second row is moved all the way back in its tracks. And all the way back in its tracks, I can actually put out my legs on the ottoman without touching the front seat back, and that front seat was adjusted for me also at 6 feet tall. Kia has designed the Sedona to accommodate a 4x8 sheet of plywood, but one important thing to keep in mind is that the second row is not removable from the vehicle. So you can stow this third row right down here, but the second row has to stay in place. Now if you're in the model that we're in, which is the very top end model, then all you can do is fold these front seat backs flat. Now if you're in the second model down from this, then the front seats have an extra trick up their sleeves. The seat bottom cushion will actually flip up, and then the whole seat will collapse against the back of the front seats, giving you more cargo room. Now because all the cargo room back here is used up by the seating arrangement, you will find the jack behind a little panel right here on the side. When it comes to my exclusive trunk comfort index, the Sedona, like other minivans, scores 10 out of 10 points. It's very handy, very practical back here. And because minivans have been the less sexy side of people transportation for a number of years, minivans have tended to receive the older technology. So if you take a look at the Toyota Sienna, it's only very recently gotten the latest infotainment systems and the latest safety systems that you found on the Toyota Highlander. The same thing goes for the Chrysler minivans and all the other minivans out there. That's not going on for this generation of Sedona, however, because this actually has some of the latest systems that Kia has brought down to their mass market vehicles. In fact, we now have available radar cruise control in this vehicle, freshly taken from the Kia K900, and the interior design theme overall is also borrowed heavily from that luxury Kia. While I'm talking about safety systems, we also have lane departure warning, blind spot monitoring, and an available all-around camera system. That all-around camera system is very similar to what you find in Nissan and Infiniti models. It's one of the better systems out on the market as well. One of the prime reasons to buy a minivan over your average 3-row crossover would be handling dynamics out on the road. And I know that sounds a little bit odd, but there are a lot of reasons for that. The average minivan is closer to the ground, we have a lower center of gravity, and we also have less suspension travel. When it comes to cabin noise, Kia has done an excellent job in the latest generation of their minivan. We have new seals on the second row doors, and that really helps an awful lot when it comes to road noise, especially wind noise. But if you are after the least expensive minivan in this segment, the Sedona is not it. That will still be the Dodge Caravan. However, if you're after one of the best values in this segment, then the Sedona does incredibly well for itself. Also, if you're looking at a minivan that is most crossover-like, or if you're looking for a crossover, but you may be swayed by a minivan, the Sedona is definitely the vehicle for you because it is very crossover-like on the inside. It's also more attractive and a little bit more exciting on the outside than your average minivan. If you're looking for the minivan with the most gadgets and options or the most luxury goodies on the inside, then the Sedona is definitely the minivan for you. It beats the Toyota Sienna by a decent margin. We get more comfortable second-row seats. We also get a few more options on the inside in terms of technology. Very notably, we get that full speed range radar cruise control with the pre-collision warning system, which is fairly unique in this segment.